Well, jeepers, guys, I don't know if we'll ever figure out the motive of the Mar-a-Lago gunman. I'm James Parker, Newstalk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Yes, this is the James Show, and I'm starting out with a big dose of sarcasm here because I really enjoy. I get a kick out of having these people say, jeepers, I just don't know what the motive could be. Because that's not frustrating. The frustrating ones are the people who are like, ha, look, another MAGA guy. We told you MAGA's dangerous. No. Look, maybe you could say he's former MAGA, or at one point he was MAGA. But if you're actively trying to assassinate the guy, it's safe to say you're not on his team. Well, I mean, it's like saying, yeah, I've got a dry cup of water over here. It's just not even a thing. Yeah, the guy that's trying to kill Trump, yeah, he's a Trump supporter. No, these things aren't possible. These sentences you're saying back to back. That's like saying, yes, that wire there is red and green at the same time. It can't be. But it's fun to watch him try. I mean, just the mental gymnastics. Let me play a little MSNBC reporting on the gunman, because unless you just turn on talk radio today, you probably heard the story. There's a 21-year-old, 22-year-old. It was a young guy who got past the perimeter, Mar-a-Lago. He had a can of gas. He had a shotgun with him. Secret Service took him out. But I love this, where they pretend not to know. Like, jeepers, I wonder what his motive could be.
Also today, authorities are trying to figure out why a 21-year-old North Carolina man tried to enter Mar-a-Lago with what appeared to be a fuel can and shotgun before being shot dead by Secret Service agents. President Trump was not at his Palm Beach resort at the time. He was in Washington.
Yeah, boy. And then they had like an expert who was former Secret Service on. They're like, well, how are we ever going to get to the bottom of this guy's motive? Here's what the cops were saying. What was this? Yesterday morning.
The security detail detected that a individual had made his way into the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago. A deputy and two Secret Service agents on the detail went to that area to investigate. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the two Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized.
Yeah, neutralize the guy. So let me give you a couple of the feedbacks already, because this just happened over the weekend, and you woke up this morning. The New York Times had a story. It says he was from a very pro-Trump family and fit into that narrative, said Clarice Bonillo, 21, who was his officer in the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps. But he wouldn't go out of his way to bash anybody from the left side or start arguments or anything like that. He had his opinion. He mostly kept it to himself. New York Times also says 3 high school friends of Mr. Martin, that's the gunman, said on Sunday that he sometimes expressed traditional conservative views to his classmates. So they'll go out and say, jeepers, we don't know what the motive is. And then they'll also say, jeepers, he sure is a right winger. And then it's understandable to see why. Look, here's a online influencer from Team Blue. His name's Brian Allen. He tweeted yesterday, the man trying to enter Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun was a white Christian Trump supporter, not trans, not a Democrat, not an immigrant. He believed in Trump and was crushed by an economy that left him desperate. That's the real story. Really? You know that already? Because the cops don't know it. Here's another one. Because it sounds like, and from my point of view, this guy just couldn't be pegged. Because he's made pro-Ukraine posts. And who are the people that are putting Ukraine flags in their bios for the last 3-4 years? Yeah, that's kind of a lefty position. He's also a COVID conspiracy theorist who thought China released the coronavirus on purpose. All right, that's not really left or right. He supported Nikki Haley / Vivek Ramaswamy presidential ticket, which is a weird position to take because I don't know any Republican who actually likes Nikki Haley to be the president. I've heard other Republicans say nice things about her in the past, but when you look at who supported Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy in the last election, like 0.1% of Republicans. So that's a strange situation. It seems to be a mishmash, but there's also people who are throwing up the social media post that got screenshotted before it was taken down. Austin Tucker Martin is the guy's profile name. There's a picture of Ashley Babbitt. It says, maybe I should have just stayed home too. Oh, well, he's not 100% MAGA if he is minimizing Ashley Babbitt's death using a picture of her wearing a MAGA hat. Does that sound especially pro-Trump? There's another post of his where it says George Washington. He's got his sour face on. And the fake quote is, America was a mistake. Does that sound like the flag-waving, uber-patriotic, Kid Rock singing Team Red normal person? So we really don't know what the exact impetus that caused him at that day, at that time, to pick up a gun and gas can and go to Mar-a-Lago. But I think it's pretty safe to say that he's not a Trump fan. Why do they have to do this? Why do they have to say, oh, somebody did something crazy? Must be one of yours. There's been a lot of these little random acts of violence. And for the narrative, for anyone to come away with the narrative, boy, them MAGA people, they're crazy. They're dangerous. They're violent. Look, another MAGA person going crazy. Dude, we had like 2 trans shootings in the last week. We had the guy at the hockey game up in the Northeast. We had the other one up at the school in Canada, of all places. Oh, they have gun control. It didn't work there. But we can just go back and list through all the mass shootings, all the Christian schools that were shot up, all the churches that have been shot up and attacked. I don't think we have a problem with MAGA violence. Look, there is some examples. I mean, there's the Minnesota state rep that was assassinated. Was that a year ago? 2 years ago? Something like that? There's one. I think the last anti-government, small government, Team Red piece of violence. What, you got to go back to Timothy McVeigh? You got to go to maybe an abortion bomber in like 2007? There's not a whole lot, because we can name about 17 from the last 2 years coming from Team Blue. All right, coming up next on the James Show, Betsy Brantner Smith from the National Police Association is going to jump in and talk about the police work behind this, if there's anything to learn, how they'll learn it, where this guy came from. Is it weird that he broke the perimeter? And why does this keep happening from one side of the political aisle? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, is this another attempt on Donald Trump's life? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. My next guest, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association, coming back on. You know, we were just talking to you last week about the Nancy Guthrie situation, but this one, does this count as an assassination attempt? Because Donald Trump wasn't even in the state, much less at home. So the family must have known that he was mentally unstable because he was only missing a few hours before he was reported to police. And when we talk about for an adult man, that seems a little quick. What does that tell you, Betsy? All right. So if it's just mental illness, why aren't we seeing more assassination attempts going against Team Blue? Well, we're talking with Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith from the National Police Association. You have an entire career in law enforcement. Wouldn't you generally say someone who's trying to shoot the president isn't a fan? Because I don't think a lot of people got that memo. All right, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, you're over in Tucson. Is there any update in the search for Nancy Guthrie? What's the deal with the sheriff filming a reality show right now? Okay. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up. To explain the snafu with the lab. Okay, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association. Thank you very much. How do they find your work online? Thank you very much. All right, to the phones we go. David in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, I just wanted to I liked your expert, what you had to say, but I think something you missed that when you said that 0.01% supported, Haley and Verswamy, as president, them two had a lot of support. And a lot of their support came from Republicans that were anti-Trumpers, the Rhino Republican side of the party.
No, wait. Actually, can I put a little more nuance in there? Because I think you're half right. That describes Nikki Haley. Vivek Ramaswamy is on the other side of the Republican spectrum. He's more of the libertarian Thomas Massey, Rand Paul type. Nikki Haley is the neocon side, so she's more of the Mitt Romney, John McCain, George W. Bush type. So that's right. So, yeah, but you are absolutely right in the fact that the people who call themselves Republicans but hate Donald Trump, that a lot of them were going into the Nikki Haley camp, not even necessarily because she was the best candidate. It's just because she was the best anti-Trump candidate.
That's right. And you remember, she didn't drop out of the race. She was the last one to drop out of the race in 2024, and she didn't drop out till March or April. She was still getting tons of money was getting put into her campaign. Some people said Democrats were doing that, but I think that was the never Trumper Republicans that just kept pumping. And it was clear that Trump was going to be the candidate. But so there was a lot of – so it wasn't 0.01%. That's all I wanted to tell you, James. It was a lot more Republicans than what you're giving credit for.
Well, I would say the polls, when you look at how many votes she got in the primary process, that's kind of the number I was thinking of when I said that. Not that everyone who voted represents the totality of the Team Red voting bloc. But the people who actually went to the polls, I think she really did get like less than 1% of the cumulative vote in the primary process.
And this is my thing. Your 21-year-old attempted assassin, he was one of them. He definitely wasn't on Trump's side. He was anti-Trumper.
Right. He at least was one of them, because we don't know how old those posts are. And that's strange because even when even if it is true that he's a Team Red, we finally have another Team Red piece of violence here, but it comes from the never Trump wing of the Republicans. That's a great catch there. That's David in Dallas making some good points. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, more on the, I guess, almost assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Breaking news on the real identity behind the Mar-a-Lago gunman over the weekend. It was Bad Bunny. Just kidding. Tony and Kaufman, you're on WBAP.
How are you, sir? I wasn't supposed to ask that. Sorry. Just got 2 comments real quick. The Nancy Guthrie thing, I thought if it was a kidnapping, it automatically fell into FBI jurisdiction. And I think the Mar-a-Lago kid was doing suicide by cop.
Yeah, so the motive in there is, we say it's unknown, but it must be like a subset of something anti-Trump. Can we at least just narrow it down to that? So if it's a suicide by cop, then he's not even trying to get Trump. He's just going somewhere he knows cops will kill him.
I hadn't heard anybody suggest that or deny it. It's an aspect.
Oh, I don't have enough to argue with you on that. You very well might be right, Tony and Kaufman. So what's the gas can for?
I don't know. Decoy. Was there gas in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because, one thing I can think of is self-immolation. You see that every once in a while if someone's already crazy and they want to get some more attention on their way out. We've seen a few of those happen. It's just ghoulish and terrible.
We've seen cases of that extreme version of the S word and light oneself on fire.
Agreed. So we also, I am marveling at the people who aren't at least narrowing it down as little as we did, because we're still being pretty vague here and open-minded. But these people are out there. It's like, we have no idea why he went down there. Sounds like he was a MAGA supporter. I mean, how does that ring to you, Tony? Doesn't it take just a giant pair to say you're a MAGA supporter as you're going to kill Donald Trump?
I think it's a big load is what that is. All of the attempts, ever how many there have been on the president's life, have been quote unquote by MAGA supporters. But I mean, if you look at it, the truth of the matter is those who support Trump.
Yeah.
Like for myself, I don't agree with everything he's done, but I support him. And, the fact of the matter is, like I said, everybody that's made an attempt has been labeled MAGA, but I don't believe it.
Well, I find that super frustrating, because then if that's the worldview you accept, then there's not anything wrong with the crazy people who are shooting at Donald Trump. The problem is Donald Trump and his supporters, then, if this is a problem with MAGA voters.
I don't think it's a problem with MAGA voters.
No, I don't either. I don't either. But isn't that just kind of a terrible realization to know that half of the country sees this, and they're like, boy, we sure do have to do something about crazy right-wingers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super frustrating, because here, if y'all are just joining us, here's what Tony's talking about. This was Jimmy Kimmel after the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger.
Yeah. So that's what Tony's talking about. Now, the problem with this, Tony, is that if they don't identify it, then they're not going to tone down the rhetoric, and this isn't going to stop.
Well, it's all the gaslighting. That's their strategy. They got nothing left. We're all on everybody on the right is getting tired of and basically over the whole you're a Nazi, you're a racist, you're all of the ists. It's like, yeah, shut up. We don't care.
Yeah, that's so exhausting.
I am so mentally drained over that. I don't care what you call me. You believe but that's the difference in a conservative and a progressive liberal is you can call me what you want and believe what you believe, and I'm okay with that. Have your opinion. That's what makes this country great. The issue is if I believe what I believe and don't agree with what they stand for, I'm a Nazi, I'm a racist, I'm all the other crap that they want to throw at me, and they might try to kill me.
All good points. Thanks for calling, Tony. Good stuff. Appreciate it.
Sir. Thank you so much.
All right, coming up next, I'm going to be joined in a second by Chris Putnam in the next segment. He's the CEO of Dallas Express, and they're the local newspaper of record now. And I wanted to have him on because he is a guy that watches local politics, sure. But the frustrating part about my next story is how everyone else in the news media seems to be on board with what is an obviously terrible idea. And that is the idea that our 47-year-old city hall is so old and dilapidated, we have to tear it down and build a new one somewhere else. There's something going on behind the scenes that they're not telling us, because what they are telling us is so laughably untrue that there's something else going on. Oh, we need to tear down this city hall. Oh, you're going to rebuild it right in the same spot? No, we'll build it somewhere else. Why not build in the same spot? Well, this could be a great economic development. All right. Someone has a master plan. So what do? They try and sell you this idea that, no, it's not going to be a waste of money if we tear down City Hall and build a new one. It's going to save us money because this building is so dilapidated. Yeah, that's the ticket. And so in 2018, when the building was 40 years old and there was no plans to move a stadium over there, whatever the heck the secret plan is, they ran an assessment on the building that said the building needed $39 million worth of repairs to be up to snuff. That was in 2018. Actually, the report came out in 2020 because it was a 2-year study. Then last year they came out with a report that said, we're going to need $400 million. And then they just commissioned a new report in January. They already got the results back for it. $900 million? I don't believe it.
That's the decision Dallas city leaders face today as they debate the future of City Hall, which is right behind us.
A new report warns that repairs to the aging building could top $1 billion.
And Natalie Haddad is live at City Hall this morning. Natalie, what else did that report reveal, and really what's at stake at this meeting tonight?
Well, it is certainly not pocket change that it would cost to fix this building, and that is what's going to be on the floor tonight here at City Council. A new report says that this 47-year-old building is in critical decline, and today the City Finance Committee will go over what it takes to fix it. Now, this is something, again, that we've been going over for months, and City Council has been going over for months. Do they repair City Hall, including the plumbing, the HVAC systems, electric systems, and the roof, or do they move into new downtown offices? Well, the report estimates a full renovation would cost at least $906 million. That is minimum. So according to this assessment, leasing or buying an existing building would be cheaper than renovating or building something new.
No criticism, no rational thought, no skepticism, just the media taking some lies, swallowing them whole, and regurgitating the same lies to you. Is there anything that the City Hall could have said that you'd be like, hang on, that's a little too much? That doesn't make any sense. That's more than the original building cost, period. There are buildings in downtown Dallas that were built by the government, by the city of Dallas. So you can't say, well, this is a private contractor, so of course they did it better. That are still there over 100 years later. The Old Red Courthouse, it's now the Old Red Museum. It's from the 1800s. This is the 5th Dallas City Hall. The 4th Dallas City Hall was built in 1912. It's still there. You mean to tell us the 5th City Hall was outlived by the 4th City Hall? None of it makes sense. They are lying to your face so they can waste $1 billion of your dollars and they get rich. And whoever's pulling the strings, the puppet masters here, they're really going to get rich. I don't know who it is. I don't know if it's the Mavericks. I don't know if it's some other interest. Doesn't matter. It could be a casino. That's not the problem. Problem is we need to stop this. And the problem is like half of the Dallas probably hears that and they're like, oh, okay, well, if we need to tear it down, let's tear it down. Chris Putnam next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three funny guys who run through a whole lot of stories that you won't hear anywhere else. Check them out from 11 to 2. My next guest, Chris Putnam, coming back on from Dallas Express. And Chris, you're a regular known entity on the James Show, and I'm sure you probably feel the same way I do about this new report on Dallas City Hall. They're saying the cost to repair it and just bring it up to speed, Chris.
$1,000,000,400,000,000,600,000,000,000.
Well, the first part of that, almost $1 billion. Not believable, Chris. Not believable. Do we know? Do we know that it's the Mavericks? Yeah. Nah. So, Chris Putnam, do the Mavericks even want a new stadium, or this all the contractors and construction and donors and politically connected network that gets the contracts? But the stadium's already downtown. What are they talking about? And if you just want a stadium downtown, why do you have to tear down City Hall to do it? We're talking with Chris Putnam, CEO of Dallas Express. You know, right behind City Hall, there is a few blocks that are almost unused. A couple of them are just empty blocks. I mean, complete blocks. There's like 4 of them that are empty. And then there's a handful that only have like 1 or 2 little buildings on them that aren't very important. Even if you wanted to put a new stadium there, you don't have to tear down City Hall. That wasn't really a question. That was just me making a statement. But yeah. Is he still with me, or did he drop off? Chris, did you hit mute? That All right, we're talking with Chris Putnam from Dallas Express. Now, this report says it's going to take over $900 million to bring City Hall up to speed. The City Hall was completed in 1978. On its 40-year anniversary, the City Council commissioned a study to get the facility up to date. It took them 2 years, and their cost for repairs after 40 years of use was $39 million. That was the high end. It was $37 to $39 million was the range of spending it would take to bring it up to speed. Now, since then, they have invested millions of dollars. They got new electrical systems. They replaced the old light bulbs with LED light bulbs. They got new cooling towers, 4 new boilers in 2023. So they've actually been doing a pretty good job keeping up with this thing. How on earth does anyone see that it went from $39 million to $900 million and not think somebody's lying? Well, Chris, hang on. Sorry to interrupt. Did you hear the report I played from the TV earlier? And I'm not even picking on that station. That's what all the stations are saying. All right, Chris Putnam, stick with me for one more segment. We're going to go through the propositions that are on your ballot. If you're early voting, you're going to see these soon. If not, hopefully you see them when you vote on March 3rd. So we'll do a quick rundown of that. What is there, 9 propositions, Chris? I have the list over here in my notes, but we'll run them by you next, coming up on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So what the heck's even on your ballot anyway? This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. We're continuing with Chris Putnam, CEO of the Dallas Express. We talked about the farcical lie of the report from City Hall in the last segment. This segment, let's talk about some of these, just the propositions. I don't want to talk about people yet, because that doesn't apply to everybody, but the propositions do. The number one proposition on the Republican ballot is phasing out property taxes over the next 6 years. Chris, is this even possible? Yeah, that's kind of disappointing. So even if 90% of us go to the ballot box and say, sure, we'd love to phase out property taxes, that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Right? All right, proposition number 2, Texas should require any local government budget that raises property taxes to be approved by voters at a November general election. I mean, we all kind of agree with that, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Proposition of 3, Texas should prohibit the denial of health care based on vaccination status. And I guess this is aimed at COVID. Proposition 4, Texas should require its public schools to teach that life begins at fertilization. Your thoughts on that one, Chris? Well, that's such a tough one because, some people believe life begins at fertilization. Some people think that life begins at conception or implantation. Some people think when there's a heartbeat. Some people think when it's viable outside of the room. Some people think when it's born. Fertilization is the furthest back on that time scale, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, if you believe life begins at fertilization, then you would oppose in vitro fertilization as murder. Or the repeal of Roe v. Wade happened, yeah. I guess so. Next one, Proposition 5. Texas should ban gender, sexuality, and reproductive clinics and services in K through 12 schools. I think that's probably going to fly through with a resounding yes. Proposition 6. Texas should enact. Go ahead. You think all of these are going to pass? All right. Proposition 6, Texas should enact term limits on all elected officials. I think a lot of people are in favor of that. Right. Here's the next one's interesting for you, Chris, because I think this is aimed at your friend Kyle. Proposition 7, Texas should ban the large-scale export or sale of our groundwater and surface water to any single private or public entity. Explain this one. Okay, so the last three are no. No, you got it right. Proposition 8, ending public services for illegal aliens. Proposition 9, stop giving Democrats chairmanships and vice chairmanships. A Supreme Court. Yeah. Yeah, billions. Oh, totally agree. Now, Proposition 10, prohibiting Sharia law. Go to the Democrat side of the ballot. They have a completely different set of priorities, Chris, and we don't have to go over these. But Proposition 1, expand Medicaid and have health care for all. Number 2, humane and dignified immigration policies and pathways to citizenship, so amnesty. 3, 4, free housing. 5, free public schools. It's just free everything. So, well, look, Proposition 8 on the Democrat side, Texas should legalize cannabis for adults. Man, they're stealing voters with that one. Yeah, they've got red flag laws, all kinds of fun stuff in there on the Democrat side. But we're out of time. Chris Putnam, Dallas Express, thank you very much. Find his work at dallasexpress.com. Coming up next on The James Show, we're going to talk to a retired NYPD detective. He was also in the FBI and a Gold Shields podcast host, Tom Smith, on his take on the Mar-a-Lago gunman. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for Rhino Shield. Listen, if you have an older home, Rhino Shield can solve a few of your problems at the same time. Because one of the problems with older homes is they're drafty, they're leaky, they weren't built with the modern tools and materials and techniques, computers and lasers and robots and whatnot. So there's a few more flaws in it. And over the years, it's expanded and contracted. And so it's really leaky. It's really tough to get a good seal on it. Well, when you do Rhino Shield, one of the things they have to do is they have to go seal that whole thing up. They have to go check all of your edges. They have to do a lot of prep work. In fact, they spend more time on the prep work for Rhino Shield than actually applying the primer and coating. And look, have Gary come out to your house. He'll show you how the process works and explain it to you. I've sat through it. It only takes about 20 minutes. And learn what all they do, because I mean they have to seal that thing up like an igloo cooler for Rhino Shield to work. So you will solve a whole lot of problems. And if there's some minor patchwork that needs to be done, you've got a warped board, or you've got something broken over here, something's hanging off, or this little overhang is rotted, they'll repair it at cost just to make sure it's done correctly. Because they're not there for the carpentry business; they're there for the ceramic coating. They're there for the space age technology that will take your old creaky home and make it perform like a new home. So if you want to know what I'm talking about, get Gary to come over to your house and he'll show you. He'll show you the primer, he'll show you the coating, he'll show you whatever the nano particle, ceramic, whatever space age stuff is going on. Show you how they're going to seal up your home, make it beautiful, and then you never have to worry about it again. Go to rhinoshielddfw.com. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three funny guys who are just trying to make sense of the world. They're on from 11 to 2 before the James Show. My next guest is going to try and make sense of this pretty puzzling story here. Tom Smith's coming back on from the Gold Shields podcast. I mean, he has a background from NYPD and FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force. But, Tom, we were talking about this earlier in the show, and we still can't decide over whether this was a really terrible attempt at assassinating a president or a guy that was committing suicide by cop. So the fact that he's not going to be alive to answer questions means we have to sort of piece it together from outside his brain. Are we ever really going to know his motive? Talking with Tom Smith from the Gold Shields podcast. Yeah, and trying to figure out what this guy, is thinking. I mean, it's kind of impossible, but it's also kind of, we can at least narrow it down because some people have called in and written in saying, well, this has something to do with SSRIs, antidepressants. Or some people say, well, this is just a crazy person and there's nothing we can really do about it. But if it's just either antidepressants or just generally crazy people, we would see assassination attempts on both sides of the aisle, but they're almost exclusively coming from one side. Well, it sounds like sort of the same problem we have with school shooters. If you're a psychopath and you want to hurt a bunch of people on your way out, you know what's going to get the most pain and glory for you is going after a school full of innocent children. And then here you sort of have the same lust for glory by, hey, I get to take out literally Hitler on my way out. And yeah, I don't know how to solve that problem, Tom. Oh, I agree. All right. Tell me a little bit about the Gold Shields podcast. What you guys got coming up? Sounds good. Well, when you get some inside scoop on what's going on with the Mexico explosions, maybe we can have you back on, Tom. Thank you. A lot of stuff on Mexico on fire today. I mean, that's not unusual for Mexico, but this is even more than usual. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you'll hear my theory on why the reaction to this yet another attempt on Trump's life means you can just expect more. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Well, hey there. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. So what we have now with the gunman at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend is yet another attempt on Donald Trump's life. It's not a problem of crazy people. It's not a problem of antidepressants, or we would see the action go in both ways. But the amount of violence that is being perpetrated for political reasons by left-wingers far outpaces that of right-wingers. I'm not saying right-wingers never commit violence, never assassinate anybody, or never attempt violence or do anything, but it's more than like a 10-to-1 ratio. It is just out of this world one-sided. It's more than a 90-10 split. So we have to come up with actual medicine that matches the diagnosis. I love using the medical world as sort of my metaphor for this, because if you diagnose the disease wrong, you're going to apply the wrong medicine. If someone comes in with AIDS and you get it wrong and you say they have cancer, you're going to give them chemo. That's not going to help them. That's going to make them worse. So if we take the wrong motives and we take the wrong lessons around this problem and apply them, we're not only are we not going to solve the problem, we're going to make it worse. Here's the bad news. A lot of that's out of your hands. It's out of my hands too. Just for funsies today, in the WBAP Mothership Studios here at the American Airlines Center, I have 2 monitors, 2 TVs in my studio. I put one on CNN and one on M Snow today. I know, it's kind of crazy. Like, James, you're going to drive yourself nuts. No, this is hilarious. You know what M Snow has been running? It used to be MSNBC, now it's MS Now. You know what they've been running for about half of the time since I came back from lunch? The caption at the bottom of their screen is read, "Public figures use platform to call out Trump administration." And then they just circle between like these Olympic athletes who are calling out the Trump administration. Then they'll go to Robert De Niro, who Markley Van Camp and Robbins were playing that earlier, where he was talking about opposing Trump. And they were just coming up with example after example of people who you already knew they hated Trump, talking about, look, all these people are calling out the Trump administration. And if you watch this, you think everybody must agree. If all of these people are saying, if everyone that goes to the Olympics hates Trump, and if everyone in Hollywood hates Trump, and if everyone in academia hates Trump, and if all the scientists disagree with Trump, all the meteorologists and all the economists all disagree with Trump, you can understand how that would drive people crazy when they go to the ballot box and they vote for Team Blue, just like any sane person would, and they end up losing. That's got to be scary as hell. If you believe these people, then you would think, oh my God, I am sharing the country with a population that's more than half white supremacist or too stupid to not vote for Hitler. Literally Hitler. So if we don't actually tone down the rhetoric, if we don't actually address the hyperbole and the ridiculous reporting that we get out of this isn't going to change. And you already know this because this is what we said after Trump was shot at the first time and he got hit in the ear. This is what we said after there was the second attempt on his life at the Mar-a-Lago golf course. This is what we said after Charlie Kirk was assassinated in front of your face. In fact, this is what we keep saying every time one of these events happen. Whether there's another shooting where a bunch of Christian children are murdered for the crime of praying to Jesus, or whether it's some crazy trans person going and beating up J.D. Vance's house with a hammer. Remember that hammer dude knocked out a bunch of windows? Whether it's Rand Paul, who gets form tackled like Ronnie Lott when he's trying to mow his lawn. Some guy sends him to the hospital with broken ribs. Whether it's a guy that some Bernie volunteer that goes and shoots up the Republican baseball practice. We have been saying this for years and years and years. They're still doing it, so just expect more. I do not delight in telling you this, but expect more violence. It's going to happen. It's coming. It necessarily has to happen. And my next question is, I want to ask if you've gone through what this lady's gone through in this viral video I'm about to play for you. Because this hasn't really happened to me, but I've heard this happen, and it's almost exclusively my female friends. Ladies, if you're listening right now, have you had friends Going all the way back to high school, going all the way back to college, friends that stood in your wedding, write you off over politics. Listen to this.
Enjoy your cult. That is the final line of the message that I got last week from my college best friend, the maid of honor in my wedding. And I don't know if she was referring to the MAGA cult, which I'm apparently in primarily because I want our country to be great again.
Did you hear this? The maid of honor in her wedding. At one point, these were bestest friends, and not like in a light and transient cause, but like, we're going to be bestest friends forever. You can be the maid of honor at my wedding. Oh, I would love to.
Or just the Christian cult where I believe what's said in the Bible and I don't believe what the culture says to us. I think that's the hardest part of being a more conservative leaning content creator is when people make really bold assumptions about you without really knowing your true character. I mean, this was apparently my best friend, but then again, she never once reached out during Matt's deployment. The only time she reached out was when I said something negative about Taylor Swift. Or when I said that people shouldn't go to mediums according to the Bible because it's communicating with demons. She got really mad about that. And you can get upset with what I say, but the thing that really gets me is like this party of inclusion and tolerance that we always hear about. Yet they will intentionally say hurtful things to get under your skin.
I'm tired of hearing these stories. It's the same sort of just avalanche, this tsunami of constant anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-American hatred. It's the same motivation that cost this goober his life at Mar-a-Lago over the weekend, and that caused this lady to lose her best friend and the maid of honor for her wedding. I don't know if this happens in reverse. Is there anyone on Team Blue who's lost friends for opposing Trump? Did the maid of honor at your wedding stop talking to you because you're anti-Trump? Is this all going one way too? Because I don't think it is. Team Blue thinks Team Red is racist, sexist, bigot, homophobes, or too stupid to know the difference. Team Red thinks Team Blue should stop listening to the TV. You're well-intended people who are being misled by the same siren song that has sank every other empire and culture before. Have you lost your best friend over Trump? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Another story on the cultural divide coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Have you lost a friend over politics? This is the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I hate these stories, man. These are so sad. Well, it's one thing if it's like a coworker or someone who's barely an acquaintance or an ex-girlfriend or something like that. But I'm hearing way too many stories about people who've lost good friends, their best friend, over politics. I can almost understand if it's like your kid or your parents or whatever. Because there's a weird thing when people are too close. And also, like, if you're blood relatives, we have pheromones that sort of repel our family. That bothers me less than losing the best friend. I just broke my heart. I played you the story of a lady who lost the friend that was the maid of honor at her wedding decades ago over politics. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand how this person you were friends with, how can you be talked into thinking that person's a Nazi? It's sad is what it is. 800-288-9227. JP in Wiley, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James. So, I'm not sure that I agree with you on which is worse because, your family is supposed to be the closest, I know you got pheromones you say that reject them, and apparently I do. I didn't even know, I'd heard what Trump derangement syndrome, but I didn't know really that it was a real thing until, he gets in office and I mentioned even his name. I can't even say his name around my sisters, my niece. I can't even tell you what she said to me over Christmas. Talking about not just having his face, but his male organs posted all over my car and in front of my mom. It's crazy the thing that they can say. So it's a real thing. I wonder if the American Health Association or the American Psychiatric Association has that listed as a mental health disorder.
Well, the first derangement syndrome wasn't Trump. The first one I remember, we used the term Bush derangement syndrome back from 2001 to 2009. And boy, it was every bit as bad as Trump derangement system. Now they will go back and tell you it's not, or it was so different, or I wish we had someone who was as sane as Bush. I mean, as much as I didn't like him, he's way better than Trump, or as much as I didn't like Reagan, he's way better than Trump. No, they were saying the same thing about all Republican presidents our entire lifetime. The question I have, JP, is why is all of a sudden now it turning these people violent? Social media?
They've lost their minds.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're right. The polarization of social media, and really I guess the question we have to ask ourselves, James, is who stands most to gain by it, right? I mean, when you hear these stories and you have this agenda pushed, who's behind it? Why are they driving us to be so divided and so polarized? I mean, but I'm a veteran, and so I think that really speaks for itself. When we say I'm going to come down on, I mean, I don't know, maybe 75% of us anyway. And God forbid we sing the national anthem along with our hockey players winning the gold medal. How great was that?
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, JP. I appreciate it, sir. Let's go down to Ed in Blanket. There's a place called Blanket. What's up, Ed? You're on WBAP.
Yeah, sure. I help with the volunteer fire department here in Blankenvet. We just fought a brush fire. We're in Brown County, sir, about 3 hours out of Fort Worth.
Okay.
I was going to say, it dawned on me that I have 3 very close friends from college and a first cousin, and they hate Trump with a purple passion. It dawned on me that they're all in their 60s and 70s, and they think it's still the party. They're ultra-liberal Democratic Socialist Party. They think it's still the party of John F. Kennedy and George Wallace and Hubert Humphrey, and they won't come into reality. But I've been able to sway my nephews and nieces that are, and my young daughter, Generation Zers and millennials. So I think I cut them a little slack, and I just refuse to ruin a 40-year friendship, so we just decide not to argue about it.
I cut my liberal friends all the slack in the world because exactly what you said. There ain't no politics that's more important than some of my best friends. But I have a lot of hope for younger people who are saying crazy things and believe in crazy politics and going off the deep end about Trump. But if you're 70 and you're still like a rabid anti-Trumper, there's probably no hope for you. It's probably too late for you to get help.
Exactly. And that's why they had to get rid of Charlie Kirk. He was getting too many young people coming our direction.
Well, they've kind of accelerated that process. This next generation, man, Generation Z, they seem pretty cool, Ed.
Yes, they are. They're very cool, and thank God for them. And yeah, these poor senile 70-year-old friends and cousins, they're living in a time warp. They think FDR is still their president.
That's hilarious. FDR. Oh, yeah, the guy that did internment camps for minority immigrants and the guy that put a Klan member on the Supreme Court. What a great guy. Yeah, that's a good hero to have, people. Anthony and McKinney, you're next up on WBAP. Have you lost any friends for Trump?
No, I don't have any liberal nutty friends.
Well, that's a certain shortcut. Go ahead, Anthony.
No, it's a mindset. I mean, they're emotional. They have no logical thinking. And seriously, I don't want friends like that. I have nothing in common with friends like that. So it just blows me away when you talk about having all these liberal friends. I'm like, what ties you to them if they're so emotional, so illogical?
I don't know. I am in a terrible position where I work in a business that you think talk radio is, extremely right wing. You must be surrounded by right wingers. No, I'm in a very small subset of radio, which is a subset of broadcasting, which is a subset of showbiz. So I'm surrounded with the same sort of Hollywood type theater kids that you see in TV and you see in movies and whatnot. So I am completely surrounded in that facet. You look at my extracurricular activities, I love playing music, and musicians aren't really known for being an incredibly right-wing bunch. I've had to live in major cities for most of my career just because that's what radio dictates. So when you live in downtown Dallas, you're surrounded by blue people. Heck, when I lived in Addison, there was a lot of blue people up there. When I lived in New Orleans for over a decade, totally surrounded by blue people in New Orleans proper. So it's been my proximity. It hasn't been any kind of attempt on my part to make liberal friends. A lot of my friends from high school ended up liberal. A lot of my friends from college ended up liberal. A lot of friends, liberal. So I don't know how you end up with no liberal friends, but that's a gift most of us don't get to appreciate. Anthony.
Well, I have acquaintances, but I don't have friends. I categorize the two totally different. I have just a handful of really friends, but I have many acquaintances. But I just don't have that much to do with it. Now, I live in Mount Pleasant, but I'm traveling through McKinney. So I'm just the opposite of you. I'm the bastion of MAGA. I mean, everybody just loves Trump. So
I know Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant, y'all were in my district in high school. And I remember, your old stadium was right by the Pilgrim's Pride plant, and if it wasn't an especially windy day, we had to play over just a fog of chicken processing. And it wasn't that bad, actually. I was like, this is making me hungry. The kids next to me are throwing up, but I grew up on a farm. I'm like, oh, I know what this smell is. This is dinner.
What was your high school?
I don't like to say, sir.
Oh.
Here, hang on.
You were in the same district?
Yeah, hang on. I'll put you on hold, and I'll tell you on the break. I say it every once in a while on the air if it just naturally comes up. But I'll tell you on the break in a second, Anthony. All right, coming up next, let's continue this. Have you lost friends over politics? Because it's the same sort of mindset that's causing all the violence, that's causing the people to chase around ICE. They think they're literally fighting Hitler. This idiot that just got himself killed at Mar-a-Lago, he thinks he's literally trying to assassinate Hitler. We have groomed a bunch of people with sensational rhetoric to believing an absurd thing, which is causing them to commit atrocities. And on the micro level, that was your friendship that it cost. You'll hear more of those stories coming up next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on Newstalk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Oh, I know. So good to see you, too. So the rage against Donald Trump takes another life. You know, I don't see these stories as necessarily separate. This gunman that broke the perimeter at Mar-a-Lago this weekend had a shotgun and a can of gas with him. He got killed basically for the same reason that Renee Good and Alex Preddy got killed. He got killed for the same reason the guy that tried to shoot Trump or did shoot Trump in Pennsylvania got himself killed. It's because these are otherwise crazy people who have been whipped into a frenzy by sensational, dishonest, bad faith rhetoric and weaponized their crazy at the political opponents of the people who sensationalized them to begin with. Is that a fair connection? And so you have seen similar destruction in your personal life from this sensational, over-the-top, ridiculous, irrational rhetoric in the form of losing friends. I was playing you the story of a lady who lost her best friend, the lady who was maid of honor. Over what? Over Trump? And some of us are just marveling because look, the best man at my wedding is a Puerto Rican socialist. And that's one of the reasons. He's the first one who told me about Bad Bunny like 10 years ago. We're still friends. Who cares if he's a socialist? He doesn't care if I'm a capitalist. I don't think he's an evil person. He doesn't think I'm an evil person. Life is much bigger than that. Our friendship is bigger than that. But for some people, it isn't. And that is sad. And we're just going through some of these stories. And it's kind of breaking my heart. Russell, in Decatur, you're on WBAP.
How's it going, sir?
Fantastic. Go ahead, Russell.
All right. I'm kind of in the same boat as you are. I've got a bunch of friends that don't necessarily support Trump. And, you know, I could go, I'm not really one to care for politics, but I have had a couple that, you know, I've lost due to Trump. One of them went on an entire crazy rant about how they want to leave the country. They want to go somewhere else and, you know, take their family with them. And, you know, I didn't necessarily have a response because what else are you going to say to that? You know, and in my opinion, while America, you know, we could be doing a lot better, we are still one of the better countries to be in, you know? So, like, what other options do you have?
God, Russell, I am so good at that game when I'm sober, but if I'm out hanging out in a social setting and I'm about 6 drinks deep, which happens every once in a while, not nearly as much as it used to because I'm old and I get hangovers now. But drunk James will be like, well, get on a plane, smartass. What's stopping you? That's my response, because I secretly deep down inside, I enjoy it when people say that because I know they're full of it. So if they're full of it, I don't get offended like, I can't believe they're lying to me anymore. I get it's like, oh, look, they're doing this whole play. They're doing a show for us to demonstrate how good and empathetic and one of the good guys they are. And so since I know it's a facade, I find great joy in sort of piercing that bubble. You know, like, well, America's just racist, systemic racist. Really? Where are blacks doing better on planet Earth? And just ask them the most basic, obvious questions and then watch them do their mental gymnastics. And it will always end up with me being what? Hitler. Yeah, Hitler. Yeah, I'm a racist. I'm Hitler, sexist, bigot, whatever. I actually enjoy it too much. I'm not good in certain situations. I can keep my mouth shut when I'm sober. But drunk James has too much fun with those people. Oh, this is a terrible country. It's just so awful to be here. Oh yeah, yeah. Is anyone making rafts of trash to try and float from Florida to Cuba? Dwayne in Irving, you're on WBAP. Hey, Dwayne.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm afraid this is real, man. I had a friend. We've been friends since 2000 period. We've been friends over 24 years.
Whoa.
I brought him into the Republican Party. I voted Republican since I was first could vote 18. 2016, I didn't vote. 2020, I didn't vote. 2024, he starts sending me all this MAGA stuff. And I'm like, bro, don't send me that. Don't send me that. Don't send me that. Thought I was playing. Had to block him on phone, block him on social media. I'm like, if you want to support people, if you want to support Trump, just don't tell me. But he thought it was good to tell me.
So you blocked him?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm asking for stories of how have you been rejected by people over your politics?
And that's why I like I said.
Well, that's interesting.
I brought him into the Republican Party. I brought him into the Republican Party, and he wanted to be a Trumper, and I didn't understand why. And so, I'm like, bro, we have to part ways. There's no way we can be friends.
Well, this is interesting. Dwayne, do you still consider yourself a Republican?
Yes, very much so.
But are you pro-Trump?
No.
Okay, so are you a never Trumper, or are you just like, I'm a Republican, I'm just not enthusiastic about Trump?
I'm a never Trumper. I like I said, I voted McCain. I even voted Quayle. I'm a diehard Republican. I feel I am.
Okay. Did Dan Quayle run?
Yeah, he tried to.
I mean, he was like a vice presidential candidate. Was he like on?
That said, he tried to. Yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, whoever's on that Republican ticket, I voted for until 2016.
So that's interesting, Dwayne. Because what is there any examples of the opposite? Do you think there's a lot of Republican friends who have cut off their Democrat friends for posting too much anti-Trump stuff?
The Republicans I know, I'm African American, first of all.
We can tell.
Republicans I do know do not. They draw the line there. They draw the line. They're like, hey, when we get a new Republican, we're back on. You know?
I hear you. Yeah, I know some of those guys. You're not the only one. All right, well, that was interesting. Thank you very much. This is Dwayne in Irving. Coming up next on The James Show, Dallas and Fuego. He's a local watchdog over City Hall. He's going to have some strong opinions about this bogus piece of garbage dumpster fire of a report saying we need to demolish City Hall. It's all a lie. It doesn't stand up to even the least amount of scrutiny, and it's about as thick as a Kleenex. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. This report on Dallas City Hall needing to be demolished is hot garbage. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Now, they're not going to talk a whole lot about Dallas City Hall, but they will cover a whole lot of stories you won't hear anywhere else. Here's a quick update from WFAA.
That's the decision Dallas city leaders face today as they debate the future of City Hall, which is right behind us.
A new report warns that repairs to the aging building could top $1 billion.
And Natalie Haddad is live at City Hall this morning.
Stop. $1 billion? Really? Why don't you just say just
$1 billion, million, 400 trillion, $600 billion.
We predicted this, me and my next guest. Dallas and Fuego's coming back on the James Show. Dallas, they commissioned this report that was not believable when they said it would take $400 million worth of repairs. Now they came back and all of a sudden they found a $500 million worth of repairs in 2 weeks. They found, Damien. What's the likelihood that this is legit versus hot garbage? Yeah, probably in Mavericks Arena seems to be the consensus by the people who know more about this than I do. But the number is so big. Now, how on earth do they explain to the outside world that in 2018 they commissioned, because the building turned 40 years old in 2018, they commissioned the full assessment of the facility. And after a 2-year study, they said it needed at most $39 million in repairs. Now, they've made about half of those repairs in the last 6 years. Now, all of a sudden, who thinks this is believable that it needs $900 million worth of repairs? Wait. We can say something nice about Adam Basildua? Well, let's... Hang on. Round of applause for that. Round of applause. Because that was in my notes for next. Anyway, go ahead. Well, there's also, this is the fifth City Hall, the fifth building that's been called City Hall in Dallas history. The one that's the fourth City Hall was opened in 1914, still standing. If that one's okay, and it's been 112 years, how is this one defunct after 48 years? Well, I have noticed that this is a bipartisan issue too, because one of the guys that's helped me out a ton on this is a guy, his name's Bruce. I won't say his last name in case he wants to be anonymous. He might, because he hates Trump. He hates MAGA. He's very much Team Blue. He's just a woke social justice warrior. But even he snuck me this report. He's like, hey, me and a bunch of other architects I'm in this group with, we broke down the numbers on this. And I mean, it's one of the most helpful pieces of prep that I've gotten. You know, when we talk about the report from 2018, only showed really 2020 only showed that $39 million of repairs were needed. That came from a blue group. So you're absolutely right. This should be something that brings left and right together. And it's 1,000 years old. It's 1,000 years. All right. I love having you on. Keep an eye on these fools. I guess don't they have a meeting about it tonight? Right now? Well, Dallas and Fuego, I'm a little busy until 5 o'clock, but watch that on my behalf, okay? All right. Where do we find your work online? Yeah, YouTube, you got a bunch of fun stuff there, too. Don't leave that one out. All right, there we go. Dallas and Fuego. Coming up next, Dead or Alive. We're playing for 4 tickets to the baseball series this weekend. You want to call in, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. You're just in time for Dead or Alive. Now, this is the easier of the game shows on the James Show. I'm going to name 10 celebrities or something close to that. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. Our prize today is another one of the 4-packs to the baseball college series happening at Globe Life Field this weekend. It'll be featuring Texas A&M, Arizona State, Mississippi State, Tennessee, UCLA, and Virginia Tech. If you want to go check it out, you can go to globelifefield.com or you can call in right now, play Dead or Alive, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You don't have to know if all of them are dead or alive. You just sit on hold. I'll go to you, and you answer until you get it wrong. If you get it wrong, I'll put you back on hold, and we'll just cycle through. And whoever's still on the phone when I get to the last one, that's our winner. Mr. Jovi. Thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. Bruce made this list, so I don't know. What do you call this category, Bruce? This is kind of 90s-ish, but really some 2000s in there. You'll see. We're going to start with Lance and Brock. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes.
Okay, number one. This guy is a former NBA coach. His name is Doug Moe. Is he dead or alive?
Oh, God, these are going to be hard. Doug Moe, NBA. I hope he's alive.
No, he's dead. Don't hang up. I'm just going to put you on hold, and maybe we'll cycle back to you. Okay, Lance?
All right.
All right, don't hang up. In fact, you can get none wrong and none right and still win. All right, next is Mark in Midlothian. Hey, Mark, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
Jesse Jackson, dead or alive?
Dead.
Yeah, he just died this week. Ex-Mavericks guard Jason Terry, the Jet. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
Yes, very much alive. He's doing fine. Don't worry. Herman from Herman and the Hermits, or Herman's Hermits. Herman, is he dead or alive?
Dead.
No, he's still alive, but don't hang up. I'll put you on hold. Maybe we can cycle back around, give you a second shot. Now we got to go to Zach. Zach and Allen, you ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, let's do it.
Former NBA Commissioner David Stern, dead or alive?
Alive.
Damn it, people. All right, hang on. Don't hang up. I'm trying to give away tickets. I don't think people want it. It's a 4-pack of tickets. Oh, we have a new entry? Do I bring him into the circle? Well, let's give the other guys a shot first. Let's go back to Lance. Lance and Brock. Here's your second time around. Former Rangers player Josh Hamilton, dead or alive?
I'm hoping alive.
There you go. Ex-Mavericks player Pat Cummings, dead or alive?
Alive.
Pat Cummings is dead. I wouldn't have got that either. Don't feel bad. Oh, let's do the new guy. Jimmy in Collinsville. You ready for Dead or Alive?
Yes, sir.
All right, new guy. He's a musician, also a movie director. Rob Zombie, dead or alive?
He's alive.
He is alive. Actress Carmen Electra, dead or alive?
Alive.
Former Cowboys owner Tex Schramm, dead or alive?
Dead.
And finally, Cowboys running back Calvin Hill, dead or alive?
He's alive.
There you go. Boy, Jimmy just came in and swept the table. All right, Jimmy, you just won a 4-pack of tickets to the AMG Bank College Baseball Series, Globe Life Field this weekend, featuring Texas A&M, Arizona State, Mississippi State, Tennessee, UCLA, and Virginia Tech. All right, I'm going to put you on hold. Garrett will get your info, and we'll email you the tickets. For all you other people on hold, thank you very much for playing Dead or Alive. Sorry it didn't work out for you, but you can also get tickets by going to Globe Life Field. Mr. Dovey. We had a magical moment happen over the weekend. I know I didn't watch it. Not that I'm not a fan. I just don't feel like waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch hockey. Team USA beats Team Canada for the first gold medal for the Americans in hockey, men's hockey, since the Miracle on Ice in 1980. Here's the final moment.
Punch up behind the net. And it's Werenski. Now Jack Hughes pokes it around McCarr. United States with numbers. Back across it comes. Jack Hughes wins it. The golden goal for the United States. For the first time since the 1980 Miracle, the United States takes the gold. Jack Hughes beating Jordan Bennington.
I love how they've adopted Freebird as almost their sort of de facto theme song. That's hilarious. And it was a very stereotypically awesome hockey moment where the guy who scored the winning goal had gotten his teeth knocked out earlier in the game. So he's just running around with like a gaping hole in the front of his mouth, and he's just bleeding like profusely everywhere, just running around. Blah, he got hit in the mouth with a stick. People, this is the example I'm talking about. Whenever we have the shows where I make fun of us for being such pansies in our modern American society that we've got to close schools, it snowed 5 days ago, or we've got to close schools, it rained really hard last night, or we've got to close schools, there's been a bomb threat and I'm scared. Shut up. This is what real Americans look like, damn it. You get punched in the mouth, and even if you get hurt, you don't stop, you don't complain, you don't get a timeout, you don't quit, you just keep going, and you beat the Canadians at the only thing Canadians are good at. Why? Just because we can. You know, one of the things that will make you more Texan than you've ever been is leaving Texas for 5 seconds. Or just, seriously, don't go visit, go live somewhere else. And you'll find how different we really are than the rest of the world. If you've never lived anywhere else but Texas, Sean, have you ever lived anywhere else but Texas? Okay, you have. If the second you move out of Texas, you are all of a sudden the alpha man in every room you go into, and you're not even trying. You're just being a normal middle of the road Texan, and they don't understand. They don't understand what you understand. Implants don't get this, or transplants don't get this. But native Texans, do you realize to us everything is a competition, and you enjoy that? And it's fun, right? Isn't that the thing we all do? Oh, well, we all want to win. Well, what if you're just at your friend's house and y'all are playing ping pong while you're having some beers? Well, I want to win, damn it. Well, what if it's homecoming time and, you know, your friend gets a bigger flower than you got for your girlfriend? Well, you can't let that happen. And so now we have these giant homecoming mums where it takes up like her whole chest and it beeps and has lights and plays songs, and everything's a contest to us. We are hyper competitive as Texans, especially compared to the rest of the country. But Texas is just the America of America. Do you realize how awesome it is if you just want to make the default setting for your society, everything's a contest? That is so fun. And you don't really get to appreciate it until you leave Texas. And you're like, how come we're not all competing? How come you're okay? Your neighbor has a bigger truck than you and you're not a little bit jealous? Your neighbor has a bigger Christmas tree or more Christmas lights on his house and you're not jealous? Come on, man, everything. What's the fun of having this life if you don't get to compete for everything? And so the most beautiful part of this, I think, is that Canada, that is their number one sport. That is their number one raison d'etre. That's the most popular sport in their country, is what they live and die for. For us, that's like our 8th favorite sport. And you've watched maybe 2 hockey games in the last 10 years, and we still beat them. One day we're going to win the World Cup in soccer, and it's going to be even funnier. Oh, my God, it's going to be hilarious. All right, stick around. I have some funny audio from the viral video rounds coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, sports fans, James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. Look, now that the Olympics is done, The professional hockey on this side of the planet is going to resume, and Prize Picks already has you set up. Look, whatever sport you're into, Prize Picks can probably add a little bit more fun to it. I went all the way down to the end of the row. I'm like, what is the least popular sport that Prize Picks offers? And you know what it is? I mean, I'm not even sure this is a sport. Darts. Darts is below esports. You realize if you're in like a League of Legends or a Call of Duty player, you're ranked higher than dart throwers in the Prize Picks hierarchy. And you're like, what stats could they possibly have? All right, well, let me throw this at you here. There's an important dart match between Luke and Johnny today. Will Luke 180s? Will he throw more or less than that? So whatever sport you're into, try it. Take the Prize Picks challenge. They've got esports in there. They have women's sports. They have regular golf. They have other side of the planet golf. They have bowling. So go check it out. You make a lineup of 2 to 6 players. You look at a statistic. You pick more or less, and then you have a little bit more fun with America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. You get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks. Use promo code WBAP. Get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Hey, did you see all that global warming that's fallen in New York today? I'm James Parker, Newstalk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, they got like 2 feet of global warming in just a couple hours up in New York City.
New York City!
And here we go with the old runaround. I love this game that we play online because when this happens, people from Team Red go, wow, look at all this global warming. And people from Team Blue go, you idiot, there's a difference between weather and climate. But it never works the other way. When there's a big hurricane, they're like, look, I told you, it's global warming. And it's like, oh, I thought there was a difference between weather and climate. So we both do this. Team Red and Team Blue, we're both guilty. We both take severe weather events and we throw it in the other one's face. The important part is that there's a little bit of truth to that. There is a difference between weather and climate. Got it. But when we have this debate now, like that was a debate that was legit when this whole hullabaloo started. And if one of the tasks in this movement and addressing it is finding out when it started and really the genesis of the transition from we need to be scared about global cooling and turn the control of our economy and economic production in the hands of the government elites. It went from we're concerned about global cooling to global warming sometime in the 80s, right? But whenever you nail it down, all right, starting from the 80s when you told us warming is going to destroy the planet, they started making predictions in the 80s and really before that, and none of them have come true. Now, when it was global cooling in the 60s and 70s, they were telling you there's going to be a population bomb. They said there's going to be hundreds of millions of people who starve before the year 2000. We just can't keep doing this. Temperatures are going to keep rising. And then they kept adding more and more catastrophes to it. In the 80s, they added acid rain. And then in the 90s, they added a hole in the ozone. And now here it is 40, 30 years later, depending on what prediction you're talking about, and none of it has come to pass. None. We still have snows on Mount Kilimanjaro. We still have the polar ice caps. We still have glaciers at Glacier National Park in Montana. Miami's not underwater. It was supposed to be underwater years ago. What happened to all these predictions? Well, they all fall flat on their face. And then on top of that, they're getting covered in snow. So there was a weird part of the science debate that we were losing on this because CO2 got declared a pollutant. How dangerous is that? Whatever you breathe, since it's now considered a dangerous pollutant, can now be controlled by government. Super dangerous. Alex Newman was putting that myth about CO2 being a pollutant to bed because now there's some wailing and cringing and wringing of hands over, well, with this new Supreme Court decision, or if the EPA doesn't recognize CO2 as a pollutant, then we're all going to die. Stop it.
Environmental question depends on, I think, a very flawed fundamental presupposition. It depends on the idea that carbon dioxide is pollution. And I would argue, after interviewing hundreds of scientists, including many who've worked for the UN IPCC, many of the leading scientists in the world, that the notion that CO2 is pollution is absolutely preposterous. We exhale about 2 pounds of it every single day. The proportion of greenhouse gases made up of human CO2 emissions is a fraction of 1%. The idea that that is going to destroy the planet or change the temperature of the earth is, frankly, in my opinion, totally ludicrous. But from a totalitarian perspective, if you can convince people that CO2 is pollution, there's no human activity that doesn't result in CO2 emissions, including living, including dying, turning on a light switch. Every single aspect of your life, then, if we submit to the idea that CO2 is pollution, then comes under the regulatory control of the people who claim to be saving us from pollution. So when they do these environmental studies and they say, well, your CO2 footprint will be smaller if you eat bugs or you do this, that, or the other, you drive an electric car, that doesn't show anything about whether that's going to benefit the environment or not. In fact, CO2 has actually been very beneficial for the environment. In interviewing Trump's climate advisor, Dr. William Happer, a physics professor at Princeton University, he said the Earth is starving for more CO2. And since we've had a little bit of an increase in atmospheric CO2 over the last 100 years or so, plants have gotten much greener, agricultural yields have improved. So I think we need to also talk about the fundamental presupposition here. Is CO2 really pollution? If it's not, then all these alleged environmental benefits are completely fictional.
Oh, I love that. That was so good. And just keep in mind, even by the worst case scenario predictions of the most dire climate alarmist, the worst case scenario is that in 100 years from now, it'll be 2 degrees warmer where you're sitting right now. So that means in Dallas, where it's 58 degrees right now, you know what it'll be if we don't turn over the economy and trillions of dollars of economic output to the political elites in D.C.? It'll be 60 degrees. Oh my God, we're all going to die. How will we live? It's not possible for us to survive such dire conditions. Oh, shut up, people. All right, Breaking Benjamin is coming to Dickies Arena on October 12th with special guest Chevelle, Cami Kehoe, and Star Set. You can get tickets and information at livenation.com. Also, stick around. Coming up next, The Mark Levin Show. I'm about to get out of here, and I'll go put up the podcast. Check that out when you get a chance. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.